Back in the day, as a teenager in Buenos Aires, one of the first things you learned regarding security was that you always wear boxers, never briefs. And the reason for that was that if you got mugged, maybe when going out at night with your friends and such, there was a good chance you would end up losing your shoes, your sneakers, especially if they were brand name ones, and you'd probably lose your jacket and your jeans as well. And walking back home in your underwear was a little bit less humiliating if you did so using boxers rather than briefs. I actually know people that had to do so it's one of those hard-learned lessons. Folks, this is Fernando doing another video for the more survivalists. This is going to be a video about survival clothes. It's going to be a little bit of a longer video, probably 2 parts. I suggest you stick around because no doubt I'm going to be covering in making certain suggestions and maybe a little bit of a different point of view that maybe you haven't considered, so it will be worth your time. I have a little bit of a different take on what it is that I think of in terms of survival clothes. I don't think of it in terms of survival technical gear that you use on weekends and hikes and such. For me, at least from the perspective of modern survivalism, it has to be clothes that are integrated in your daily life. It has to be the stuff that you're wearing all day. It's not something that you just wear for special occasions, because there's no warning when there's an emergency or when there's a disaster. And besides that, it's going to be working on several levels, not just specific events. If you think of it in terms of having to go for a long period of time without buying new clothes, how long will your clothes last? Are they durable enough? How easy is it for you to wash and dry them, as I've shown in a previous video using the towel method? Is it going to be drying fast, or will I need always a washing machine and a dryer? What if there's no electricity and I have to get by with washing in an improvised way? What about a situation like the one in Greece, where I just don't have the money to buy new clothes, and whatever it is I have in my wardrobe, that has to last much more than I was hoping for and I expected to in terms of buying new ones? All right, so all of those aspects, all of that thinking is in this video. It's going to be incorporated in one way or another. All right. One of the things that I will readily admit is that for quite some time I didn't think too much about underwear and socks. For me, it was basically just grabbing something comfortable in cotton, and that was that. Yes, when skiing or when going hiking and such, I would have my wool socks and such, but especially because I was in South America, in a more tropical climate, you could get away with using cotton. Having said that, cotton is really not ideal. As we know, it is not as good in terms of drying. It's going to be retaining humidity much more than synthetic materials. So cotton in tropical climates works, but there's always something better out there. In fact, for quite some time, the US military did use 100% cotton for their BDUs, for their battle dress uniform, and troops were happy enough with those. But the thing is that 100% cotton was not nearly as durable as the 50-50 BDUs that they used later on. They noticed that 100% cotton would show more wear and tear sooner than the 50-50 blend, using 50% cotton, 50% synthetic. So they went back to that. Now, having done a little bit of research, these are some of the conclusions that I have. As you notice also, the color subdued, so as to not have that much attention drawn towards you. That's also typical, and I'm going to be avoiding certain things. No camo, no obviously military looking stuff. So that's also incorporated in the mindset here. Let's start with the underwear. All right, let's start with the underwear in terms of cotton. Yes, as I was saying, not ideal. Now when you start looking at some of the alternatives, soon enough you come across stuff like this, synthetic. This is actually polyester, and this is Under Armour. By all accounts, based on everything I've read, the ExOfficio ones are the best underwear you could possibly have. Everyone seems to be loving ExOfficio, and it's clearly for some reason. It has to be very, very good stuff. Still haven't gotten myself some, but I will do, and that would be my suggestion to start with. If not, the Under Armour ones, such as this one, it's also very good. I mean, I've been happy enough with them. Synthetic, this is 100% polyester. It dries fast. Here I have actually the tag right? Heat gear, Under Armour, wear this to feel cool, dry, and light. Yes, in fact it does. Based on the suggestions on the reviews that I saw, I went for extra large because people were saying that go with a bit bigger because it was quite compressive. And here it says compression, and here we have the material. Let's say anything there. Well, no, it is 100% polyester. Yes, and I'm happy enough that I did go with the extra large, because notice the leg, how big it is. This is how wide the leg is, and it's even smaller than my palm, and my leg is definitely at least twice as thick as this. So it's my concern was that going with something a little bit larger would be too big and it would all roll up when putting on the pants. Fortunately, that's not the case. I was really trying to avoid having something that was too tight, because for guys it's really not healthy for you to have something that's too tight, and you want to avoid that. You want a little bit more roomy underwear, and this works perfectly. Just tight enough around the leg so as to avoid this from moving up, and it stays in position. So again, ExOfficio, definitely the one that I see most people are happy with, and I'm definitely going to be trying them. If not, Under Armour has good stuff as well. Now, moving in terms of socks, I've tried a few, and there's good stuff out there. These are from Colombia. These are 50-50 blend, 50% cotton, 50% synthetic. A good hiking sock, I guess. And the one basically that I've been the most happy with, and at first I was a little bit confused because there's so much brands and it wasn't nearly as clear of a choice as with underwear, where everyone was recommending ExOfficio or Under Armour. So when looking around for socks, I came across these ones, which I've shown in fact in previous videos. These are made by Dune Stores. This is a store in Ireland actually, and they are fantastic. I mean, I bought several pairs of these because they are really great. In case you do have them available, these are technical trainer liners, and €6 for these. That's basically like $7 for 2 pairs. That's a fantastic price. 100% synthetic, and this is something that I would recommend. Now, if you don't find these exact socks, that's okay. Just go for another brand. 511 makes some nice ones as well. But my recommendations would be these. Buy your socks for your appropriate foot size. This is for from 9 to 11. Which basically works great for me because that's about my shoe size, 43 to 45 European. Alright, so buy socks for your feet size. One of the complaints that people have in terms of blisters and such is not so much because of the material, but because of the fitting that the sock has. It's not good, so it bunches up. For example, these Columbia ones, Columbia is a good brand, but since they're not size specific, they do tend to bunch up a little bit and not be as good as a fit as these ones. So the size, and also one more important thing to keep in mind, make sure they are intended for left and right foot. This makes them fit so much better than a normal sock. So the technical ones like these, left and right sock, this makes for a much appropriate fit to your feet. Specifically, these ones have 65% nylon, 66% nylon, 32% dry release, and 2% elastine. And it's basically placing the material where it's needed the most. Very thin nylon here so as to quickly dry your feet. Your feet are going to be very dry with this, and more cushioning and warmer here in your toes, more resistance here where it's making contact with the ground. So very nice socks, and they're very compact as well, which I also like. You see how they're just as high as tall as they need to be, not going up your ankle so much, which many times you really don't need. I think this is a great sock for warmer climates, but also for mild, even cold climates. Something colder, extreme cold climates, you would be looking at wool, maybe merino wool socks. But these are the ones that, unless I'm specifically needing for extreme cold temperatures, this is the one I'm going to be using basically all the time, and it's a great choice. Moving forward in terms of pants, at least for me, for many years, it's been using 511 tack light pants, which are basically these ones. The 511 tactical pants, 511 tactical series, the tack light pants are especially intended for shooters. And by this I mean they have large pockets, they have a little bit of extra protection here for your pocket knife, for the clip. You even have a magazine pouch. I know that in these back pockets I can fit 25 shells of 12 gauge shotgun shells in each pocket. And you have the cargo pants as well. So these are very good for that intended use. In terms of material, it's 65% polyester, 35% cotton. So it's mostly synthetic, which makes it very resistant to wear and tear. It dries very fast as well. On the other hand, it does look like a freaking tactical pant, which is not always ideal. This one is black, which is a little bit less, noticeable. But yeah, for that kind of thing, these are great. I like them so much. They have them in shorts variation as well. These are the 511 tack light shorts. These are 100% cotton, but they also come in this polyester cotton blend that I have here in the pants. The nice thing about it is that you keep the same system in summer, winter. The pocket configuration is exactly the same, which makes things so much easier, because you're not changing when going from normal pants to shorts. But instead of 100% cotton, definitely this one would be a better choice of materials. Now, as I was saying before, these pants, they basically look like tactical pants, which is what they are. And I like wearing jeans as well. I think everyone wears jeans. It's much less noticeable, and they can be more comfortable as well. So every now and then I like changing. Lately I've been using mostly jeans. I see that I can go back to the 511 pants, but jeans is something that I like having around. Now, jeans are usually 100% cotton, but the thing is, when you start reading the materials and such, there are jeans that are not made of 100% cotton, such as these ones. These are also Dunes. It's a pretty good store, actually. And get to focus there. All right, Dunes, yes, and keep away from fire. Yeah, that's a good advice. Here we have 56% cotton, 44% polyester. All right, it's not the military 50-50 blend of cotton and synthetic, but it is close enough. 56% cotton, I can live with that, and it's going to be more resistant to wear. It's going to be a jean that's going to be drying faster. All right, and basically those two are already good enough advantages. It's still comfortable like a jean, or almost as good as a 100% cotton jean, although maybe not so much. But as you start wearing it, you hardly notice the difference, to be honest. But it's gonna be drying faster. It's gonna be wearing better than normal cotton, and it doesn't wrinkle as much. So all those things about not having to iron it, maybe when going on the go, or when having to wash it in an improvised way, it's gonna be making things easier and simple for you. Also wide enough for the tactical belt as well. In terms of pockets, you actually have a little bit of a bigger pocket here for pockets for the change and coins or a lighter, and you have another one here which I haven't seen in many jeans before. You have a couple more pockets than in your average jean, so it's a good pair there of pants. Now, moving forward to the top, I was looking to upgrade from my typical cotton t-shirts. I still like cotton, don't get me wrong. It is very comfortable. Cotton is the most comfortable material you can have. Maybe silk or something like that, but cotton really is nice to wear. Feels great, and I still have it. My favorite cotton t-shirts are the French Connection ones, which are these. I actually have 3 of these. Again, colors are not. It's a great material. It's a very thick, nice cotton that they use, but as we know, cotton kills, and for extreme cold temperatures, maybe you want to be avoiding that. What's the other option? What's the more survival related alternative if you want to have something better? I think that here you start looking at some of the options in terms of synthetic ones. Under Armour, these are actually quite well. I have 2 of these. All right, gray and black. And yes, as time goes by, with synthetics, it doesn't really wear nearly as much as cotton. This actually is quite old. This is a old Nike Fit Dry. This actually, I got it from Argentina, so it has a few years on it. And it's still looking pretty good. It hasn't wear nearly as much as it would have if it had been made of cotton. More of a sporty type of tee, and yeah, it has that reflective material, which it's actually makes sense. Makes yourself a little bit more noticeable out there. So not bad to have that. But if you have something that looks less like sportwear, less like you're just out of the gym, something like this in gray with a black little logo makes sense. Medium, I went with a loose fit. Why loose fit? Well, because I think that you look like a jerk if you start wearing very tight Under Armour shirts, like like pretending to be the Rock in Fast and Furious. So yeah, I don't like that way of that look. And besides that, I don't find it to be, maybe it's comfortable, looks kind of weird to me, and besides that, a more practical reason, with a loose fit, it means that you can conceal carry your weapon, and it's not going to be going tight around your waist, which you really want to be avoiding if you're carrying a concealed. So the loose fit makes sense, and medium, yeah, does work okay. Now, the nice thing about this is that it really dries very, very fast. I mean, I was actually wearing this same t-shirt just a couple of days ago out. It started to rain. We were walking in a trail, and in spite of it raining, I got wet. Being in Ireland as it is, rains all the time. So even if I got wet, yeah, I wasn't really feeling particularly cold. It's not that cold right now, but in spite of being wet, what happened is that it really dries very, very fast. I mean, as you're wearing it, it just dries on your back, which is a great attribute that this material has, drying so fast. Now, if you have to deal with a little bit of a colder climate, then I definitely go with merino wool. This is like the thing that you always hear when you start researching about outdoors and technical clothing and such. Merino wool is always brought up as a great base layer, and for all the good reasons. It really is a nice material. It's a little bit softer than typical wool. It still has those properties. It's not going to be drying as fast as synthetic. I'm going to be telling you that right now. It will not dry as fast. It will dry faster than cotton though, and the characteristic that cotton has is that even if a little bit moist, it still keeps you warm. This is a pretty important advantage that it has, because sometimes you don't have the option but to wear moist or even a little bit wet clothes. But if it's still keeping you warm, that's a great advantage. Especially in colder climates, you're actually talking about life and death here, because with wet cotton, you're going to be dying. With a wet merino wool, you can just take it out, press it, dry it as best as you can, put it back on, and you're not going to be losing heat nearly as much as with a wet cotton. Okay, so in that regard, it is a great advantage. This one is body fit, so it's a little bit tighter fitting, so I went with large. Maybe a little bit bigger, maybe medium would have been more adequate, but I'm trying to avoid having something that's too tight, so that works well. This is 200, which is pretty thick, but yeah, lots of good advantages. One of the things that it has in terms of comparing it to the synthetic is that this one is really not much of a fireproof material. In fact, here it is. I don't know if you get to see that. That's actually a little hole right there. And this is when I did a barbecue, a little spark hit it there and it burned through it. And that's not good. Actually, that's kind of dangerous, because if it catches fire, this is going to be plastic melting on top of your body. Fire resistance, nothing. It's actually quite dangerous with synthetic. That's another advantage that merino wool has over synthetics. So yes, now in terms of what brands and such, Icebreaker is maybe one of the best known brands. It's gonna be expensive, it's not cheap at all, but it's very well made. And you know, you have smart wool as well, but if you find other manufacturers that work with merino wool as a material and you're happy with those, well, more power to you. On the negative side about merino wool, and not a lot of people mention it, it does itch a little bit. You know, it's not too much, but it's not going to be cotton. Cotton is, you know, the most comfortable thing that you can have against the skin. Basically, synthetic, the Under Armour ones, these are okay. These are maybe not as nice as cotton, but close. Merino wool, the first time I wore it, it did itch a little bit. After washing it a couple of times, wearing it, either it starts softening because of washing it, or you start getting used to it. My advice would be buy one piece, start wearing it. If it itches a little bit, try getting past it. You know, like I did. Eventually, when you do something else, you think of other stuff, you kind of not notice it anymore, and eventually you just forget about it. So it's maybe a process of getting used to it, but it's definitely worth it because the material is as good as they say. But yes, don't fall for that stuff about it being as, you know, the same as cotton. It is not the same as cotton. It does itch a little bit, and how bad it itches depends on how sensitive you are. But my advice is trying to work with it, trying to get used to it, because, you know, eventually you just might. Folks, that's been all for now. I'm going to be doing a part 2. If you did like it, I would appreciate a thumbs up and subscription as well, so as to not miss the following part. And that's going to be it. Guys, take care, have a great day, and as always, see you on our next video.